one here, so we can go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this afternoon for our press conference here to discuss New Mexico State men's basketball head coach Chris Jans' extension here. On the call today from New Mexico State Athletics, our Director of Athletics, Mario Moccia, Deputy Director of Athletics, Bron Cartwright, and they'll go through all the specifics of this. But we'll start off with Mario Moccia and his opening statement about today's announcement. So, Mario, if you're ready, we can go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. We know it's a busy sports day in Albuquerque and El Paso, so I'll try to be brief. I'm obviously ecstatic to announce Coach Chris Jans' contract extension. The vast majority of this was completed last May, but with COVID-19 sports planning and all the gymnastics that associated with that all season, it was put a little bit on the back burner, getting it finalized. A lot of people ask me, well, how come you're doing this, a Zoom instead of just a release? I think you guys know we always love to be transparent. So I'm going to hit the 30,000 foot view of this, the specifics, and Bron Cartwright, our Deputy AD and COO, are on here and is on here, and he'll handle the specific questions. The broad strokes, the extension's a 6-year agreement. A big point I want to hit right off the bat is that Coach Jans' base salary will remain the same. So the exact number it was is the exact number it will be. That's $290,000. And all the new compensation, every bit of it, is from private donors. At the outset, there's a $78,000 increase in Coach Jans' retention bonus, which was made possible from new donors to the Jans Retention Fund. These donors have committed multi-year agreements, and they joined what I'd say, the original Jans Retention Fund group. The remainder of that $78,000 comes from the restructuring of the Hal Mummy debt that the athletic department is mandated to pay off. So instead of paying off the Hal Mummy debt internally by 2025, it will now move to the year 2027. The final compensation piece is an additional $72,500, which can be split up between the head and the assistant coaches. That has not yet been determined how that split will be made at this time. Those monies specifically came from our 6-man fundraising arm. I hope Aggie Nation knows every lever that the athletic department could push and pull was. I'd certainly like to thank our regents, our chancellor, our president, Bron Cartwright for sure, and all of our sport supporters. There's some specific ones that did a lot behind the scenes and helping me, and that's Sherry Jones, who's the president of our 6-man club, Smokey and Alan Torgeson in Albuquerque, John Hummer, Jag Chima, a couple of local businessmen, and certainly Dino and Leslie Cervantes, longtime friends and supporters of the program. But I just want to thank them for their involvement during the process. Now, the only other real main component to break down is the buyout provision, and I'll ask Bron to do that, and then both of us will field any questions. But before I do that, I'll remind Aggie Nation that there's kind of an old AD saying, when no one wants our coach, we may not want them either. I feel Chris Jans is a huge asset to our department, our institution, and I am delighted to retain him. And then I'll ask Bron to go over the buyout provision and any other specifics, and we'll take any questions.
In the fall of 2019, the First Amendment was done for Chris Jans' contract, and that actually reduced the buyouts, changed the buyout to a $50,000 buyout if he left after next year. So if he leaves after the 21-22 season, the buyout will reduce to 50. In this Second Amendment, that buyout is again modified to if he leaves for a Power 5 institution, starting in after the 22 season, that buyout would increase to $100,000. There's also a special modifier on here that if he takes the money that he takes from the new 72.5 that's being allocated by the 6-man fund, will be added to the buyout, whether that's the Group of Five buyout of 50,000 or the Power Five buyout of 100,000. So we can get into specifics there, but that buyout will increase dollar for dollar based on the increase in salary.
So guys, that are, a lot of work for kind of two main points there. But Charlie, not to usurp your role, but I think would take any and all questions from anybody except Nate and Lou, who are conveniently away from their terminals.
Just Braun, I guess just to make sure on the buyout. So after the 2021-2022 season, if he goes to Power Five, it's $100K plus whatever money he takes from that 72.5. If he goes to a Group of Five after 2022, $50K plus whatever he takes from that 72.5. What if he, by some odd occurrence, he leaves in August of 2021? What would the buyout be?
Current buyout is a half of the remaining salary of the 21-22 season. So it would be prorated based, if he has 9 months left, it would be half of that salary for those 9 months.
Got you. Thank you.
Can Braun or Mario, what is the current assistant coaching salary pool, and how much does this, I mean, obviously it's 72.5 that they can disperse however they wish, but what's the current assistant pool?
Currently, the assistant pool for this past year was 314,000.
Yes.
Did you get that, Jason?
Yes.
314. Okay.
Mario, I guess just from obviously just a bigger picture level of this, I mean, you brought it up a little bit, but what does it mean to just be able to, keep Chris around? Obviously he's a hot commodity, almost, was UTEP was obviously looking at him. What does it mean to just be able to have him back and, know that he's, going to be here for a few more years at least?
Well, look, in today's day and age, look at all the coaching changes in a pandemic. I would assume that next year it will even be crazier, and the marketplace for a very successful coach. I mean, obviously you saw Charlie's release, but when you take a good look at, what Chris has done in the past, I mean, he's the National Coach of the Year for first-year coaches. He was at Bowling Green. He was involved with Wichita's in the Final Four in their 35-0 season. And since he's been here, I mean, he's stood out significantly. 9-3 in rivalry games, conference championships, NCAA tournaments. I always point out I believe it's 5, maybe 6, but Power 5 wins, and we had gone 17 years with only one of those, and really in 3 cracks at it. Right, last season we didn't get the chance to do that. In 3 cracks, he's got 5 of those. And then, you play against traditional powers. Number 2, Kansas, you lose in the last possession. Final Four in the NCAA, Auburn, by 1 point. You've got a last-second shot to win it. So there's no doubt he can recruit and coach at a high level. But what obviously, isn't the sexy part is the fact that our academics in men's basketball are fantastic. If I was a better AD, I'd have those stats with me, but I can get those to you. But GPAs, graduation, it is phenomenal. And, from the social standpoint, not only are our guys, I think, really accepted and well-loved in the community, whether it was AJ Harris or Jamario Jones or, Zach Lofton or Johnny McCants, you name it. They've been really good ambassadors for us in the community and, in the headlines in a good way. So that's kind of the trifecta, the academics, the social component, and the winning. And when you got all those 3, you want to do everything in your power to keep that. So, I hear a little bit, oh, hey, the coach was looking at this, that, and that. Well, I'll remind everybody, people are calling him. And that's a good thing. When you're successful, you're going to get looks, you're going to get phone calls. But at the end of the day, I don't care about any of that. He is doing everything and more that I have ever dreamed that he would do in his short tenure here so far, and we hope to keep him around, for as long as possible. But with a talent like that, obviously, I think sooner than later, the big boys will keep coming.
Mario, obviously, it feels like kind of just the second sort of year where you've had to work to get a retention bonus for Chris Jans from donors and raising this money. You talked about through these basketball donors that you talked about, to get that kind of money going towards your institution's basketball coach. I mean, a lot of the athletic department in raising funds through those donors. Were there any? Maybe there weren't. I don't know, because people love Chris so much because he's done such a great job. But are there any challenges as far as finding donors to help lay on a little bit more to Chris to keep him in crucis, I guess, or is it really people are sort of banging down the door to say, hey, stepping up, we need to keep this guy here?
Sure. Well, I tell you what, with a school of our size and graduates of our size, we're not an Ohio State where there's a limitless pool of people to call, but we have expanded our network, in the 5 years we've been here. Certainly you go back to the names I mentioned, whether it's Cervantes, Hummer, Jones, Torgeson, Chimas, those types of folks have been there and constantly been there, but we've made new friends as well. But I think, the business community realizes, when I first stepped foot in here in January of 2015, I went to, I want to say it was like we were playing Irvine. And boy, the arena just wasn't, there wasn't a whole lot of people in there. The atmosphere was dead. You go to an Aggie game now, there's a lot more people. There's a lot more excitement. People are going out to restaurants and bars before and after. So I think people realize that this is great for an economic engine, that Chris has been able to build. I think Chris's personality, he's out in the community, he sees people, whether it's restaurants, whether it's on the golf course, et cetera. So they feel good and they feel like they know him, and his wife, Sherry, is a tremendous asset. So that certainly makes it easy. But I would be lying if I said, hey, there's another, $jillion out there. I joke that, we shook the coconut tree pretty hard. There may be one or two up there, but I don't know if I have the guts to climb all the way up there and dislodge it. But, look, I pledge, we're going to do everything we can as long as I'm AD to keep, the coaches that are making a tremendous impact. And Chris Jans is, at the top of that list.
Hey, Mario, I had a two-part question for you. First, like, what would your message be to fans after their coach interviewed reportedly with a rival school, and just on the heels of losing the previous coach to a rival school? I think that makes it more, I don't know, maybe touchy for your fan base. And then the second would be, what would be any message that you could share to your school, your administration, to maybe help avoid that happening again?
Yeah, well, I won't parse my words. My first thought would be to say get over it, but I won't do that. Look, Aggie fans can have the right to think whatever they want and say whatever they want, and we never stifle any opinions. In my opinion, as the athletic director, it is paramount to keep a coach. And while we know we're not providing the compensation that others are, and that is critical when people have families and children and responsibilities and aging parents, that's something that is significant. This also, we're not in Durham, North Carolina, or Spokane. We don't have all the bells and whistles that maybe other places do. But my job is to find the best coaches, and if our rivals find that they want them as their coaches and make a run out of them, I can't do much about that. But when we find good ones, and I think we have good processes to do that, you don't have a crystal ball, but we'll just do everything we can to keep them. So if that question is in some way, does it bother me? That's an emphatic absolutely not. I will always fight to keep Chris Jans as an Aggie because I think he's that good, but I don't begrudge anybody in looking at any opportunity. Jason, I mean, I think a lot of people like to harken back to the old era of, hey, I'm going to stay here forever and this, that, and the other. And even if you really look at it, people didn't stay there all the time in the old era too. But things are different. With the transfer portal, every one of your players can transfer and be immediately eligible, whether that's UTEP, UNM, Maine, or, Washington State. So, that thought of loyalty, I mean, I define that as hard work, passion, and I think Chris has displayed that in spades. Now, the second part of that question is, I think that we've certainly made clear, from the athletic department that, keeping a successful basketball coach just doesn't mean a lot to the athletic program and our bottom line, but it means something to enrollment. It certainly means something to the economics of Las Cruces. So, my job will be continue to push to try to get our salaries and things like that up to, a more competitive number with our opponents. Our size of school is our size of school. We don't have a law school. We don't have a medical school. And, there's just going to be some things that we won't be able to do that others can. Now, I'll still fight for those. But at the same time, none of us in the administration certainly don't understand, where our university is. But that doesn't mean, we in athletics shouldn't try to keep pushing the envelope and, making our case to, compensate our coaches where maybe at every single turn when they have a good season, people aren't, we're not in danger of being poached.
Mario, it's Jack Nixon.
Well, hi,
How
Jack.
much has the men's basketball salary, head salary changed from Reggie Thea's time to now?
Well, that was interesting. I had a media member ask me, so we actually did some digging. So we looked at the salaries of the coaches when they left, and boy, I think I had that here. I gave it to KVIA. I don't know. I guess you guys can't use that now that I said KVIA, Nate.
Tom Scott has got it buried out in Picacho Hills at the mountains, probably somewhere right now.
Got it. Well, he had asked me, and this is what we had come up with, you mentioned Reggie. I think in Coach Henson's second stint, his last year, his base salary was $169,000. Reggie Theus's last year, it was $275,000. Marvin Menzies last year's base salary was $340,000. Paul Weir's one and only season was $250,000, and Chris Jans is currently at $290,000. So that's your homework, courtesy of Tom Scott at KVIA.
Was there I guess I need to ask Tom, but were there retention bonuses like that for other coaches other than Chris, or is the retention bonus, especially of that number of the almost 300,000 that Chris is getting now, were there retention bonuses for those coaches?
Colin, I don't know who you're asking that question to, but, I obviously came in here in the Marvin Menzies era. And while I don't have his contract in front of me, I do believe there was a small retention bonus. Braun might know that better off the top of my head. There was not one in Paul Weir's contract or the first year of Chris Jans's contract, but there may have been one in Marvin's.
Marvin did have one. I don't know the exact number on the top of my head, but he did have and it might not be considered a retention bonus, but some additional funding for appearances or something like that.
Did anybody have any other questions this afternoon for either Mario or Braun?
Yeah, Charlie, I've got just one from Mario. Mario, what's it like when you're dealing with Chris Jans in these types of situations? It seems like, and I don't know, but it seems like Jans genuinely understands NMSU's financial situation. It seems like he weighs everything, his quality of life, the effort that you guys make to keep him, the fan base, his likability. There are a lot of coaches who'd be like, I'm not taking this kind of salary. You've seen what I've done here, blah, 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 blah. And and start marketing himself or what have you. But it seems like Jans, it really has to be an amazing opportunity with ridiculous money to get him to leave. So my question is, what's it like dealing with Chris when you're trying to go through all this contract stuff?
Well, yeah, good question. I've known Chris since 2006, and not so much as a worker or boss or a close friend, but we've known each other for now 15 years. Chris is from Iowa. He's a very down to earth guy. Chris didn't come up with the ranks of being the associate coach at North Carolina or Duke or Florida. I mean, he was a longtime junior college coach. He knows limitations. He's been unbelievably frugal with his budget. But even deeper than that, Chris, and I don't know, maybe it's because of me hiring him, but we've always had the most wide open relationship where he was letting me know every single thing that was going on. I was letting him know every single thing that was going on. The lines of communication on phone and text were wide open, and we both pledged to each other. As soon as we hear things, we would tell each other. So I would say it's kind of been atypical from, and I not in a bad way. I just mean I guess the level of communication has been at an all-time high with Coach Jans, and I think that's why I don't know. I don't know if I'd say we get along really well, but I think we have a really good relationship. And quite frankly, Chris calls Braun on just as much stuff, and Braun heads off more things at the pass than I ever could. So I think Braun, I'd echo, or Braun would probably echo what I said with very transparent, very upfront, very understanding, and that fiery Chris Jans that you see does flare up now and then, but we take it as being an unbelievable competitor and nothing else.
But he genuinely has a nice situation in Las Cruces with what you guys have done, his winning.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously basketball is very prominent. You can see behind me, the Pan Am can get rocking. It's what a lot of people remember, whether it's Johnny McCant's last shot or, cutting down the nets or you name it. I mean, there's a lot of moments that people remember, and Chris is very well thought of. I'm not here to comment on, I guess I will say this. I mean, he'll say this for himself, but he and his wife, I know, love it here. They have a new home. They have a ton of friends here. His wife is unbelievably active in the community. So, that's probably for him to sing those praises more than me. But I do believe there are a ton of positives at New Mexico State and Las Cruces. The reality, though, is there are some shortcomings when you compare them to other places, whether it's compensation, facilities, access to airport, whatever that is. So, our job is to enhance the positives, try to knock down any negatives or anything that's standing, in his way to build a successful program. And quite frankly, all of our coaches, and keep him around as long as we possibly can.
Excellent.
I want to go back to Colin's question real quick. Marvin was given $50,000 for promotional appearances and appearing pre and post game on the radio. So that was his additional.
Colin, you don't think Braun would ever leave a hanging chat out there, do you? Just a little preview,
Absolutely.
When I get hit
not.
by a bus or get canned, what's going to happen around here?
Mario, out of curiosity, man, that was Aggie Nation was loving that picture you threw up on social media of you and Chris. What were you guys at? Pistol Pete's, the 6-shooter? What are you cheering to?
I cannot give up the location where we're at, even though somebody figured out. It was very close to Chris's house. Okay, so I don't, we have our Pistol Pete's 1888, so I don't want to commingle that, but I have a little Eddie Haskell in me, so I said, come on, let's take this picture and let me craft a little message on there just to get look, man, it's athletics. Whether you love it, whether you hate it, whether you're for it, whether you're against it, man, at least they're talking about you. And I think in Las Cruces, you got to have that kind of stuff. And I was tickled with all of the responses, even the detractors of me. I do like reading that stuff too. Adam doesn't like it as much, but I get a kick out of it.
Adam's sensitive. Is that what you're saying? Doesn't like the haters?
I'm not going to say Adam's sensitive, but I'm just maybe not sensitive. I don't know.
No comment.
All right, guys. Anything else for either Mario or Braun here this afternoon?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, guy. Hey, as usual, I know Grammer's not on here, but Braun will have the contracts, so I'm not getting into legal. You can't IPRA it, but I mean, Braun, usually we just make those available. So I'll let Braun kind of take that from there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you like a copy of the Second Amendment, let me know and I can get it sent to you. You also see some performance incentives in there, some additional legal language that was put in there due to COVID, and just in case that happened again down the line. But if you have any questions about any of the language in there, feel free to give me a call.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.